Hello and thank you for joining me. This is 1 in 20 D&D. I'm Gregory. You're watching Session 17 recap for the VÄRLDEN Reach. The VÄRLDEN Reach is a beautiful, wonderful sandbox world created by the bearded bugbear who runs our games. This is a 5e D&D game campaign that I am one of the players. I play Jermaine the Bard, Captain Jermaine Santo. And in this week's session, Jermaine and Morana and Perdita had returned from doing some information gathering, trying to get to the bottom of what's been happening in the city of Falkirk. Uncle Patrizio, who is Jermaine's uncle who runs the family loot shop, has been being extorted by the Hemlig, the crime syndicate within the country of Brennan. Now, Perdita and Morana were kind of helping Jermaine figure out, who's behind all this, where's their hideout, what are they doing, who else has been getting, bothered, and so forth. That's kind of the stuff that happened in our last session. Now, at the beginning of this session, the three of us returned back to the inn where the others were staying. Now, this is the end of the day of Jermaine, Morana, and Perdita doing the search and information gathering. So at the end of the day, we go back to the tavern. Lily is downstairs. As soon as we walk in, we kind of greet Lily and see her. She's sitting at a table having a meal or whatever. Actually, I don't even think she was having a meal. She was just sitting downstairs trying to recover. The innkeeper handed a note to Morana. And Morana reads this note and probably doesn't even finish reading it before she bolts upstairs. So Morana goes running upstairs, and Jermaine's like, wait, what's going on? And Perdita kind of runs up after her to make sure everything's okay. While they run upstairs, Jermaine has a moment with Lily and basically says, Lily, kind of like he did earlier that morning, I should say, last session, but earlier that morning in game time, he basically said the same thing to Morana and Perdita, look, I have this kind of personal issue I need some help with, and by the way, you might get to blow things up. So, I mean, I'm being silly. That's not really what he said, but basically it was hey, I'm a little embarrassed about this, but Lily, I think I need to ask for your help. We've been doing some information gathering. My uncle has been getting extorted by the Hemlig, and it's a little bit out of the Vokter's kind of realm of what they cover and what they're responsible for, but I'm going to do this, and I really could use your help. And she was like, that was the best news she heard all day. In fact, she told Jermaine, wow, I'm feeling better already. This is great. So that was a huge relief for Jermaine because he was really nervous and kind of almost dreading talking to the other party members about this. He felt like Perdita and Morana he kind of could maybe trust or thought that they might be quicker to help, but he was a little unsure about the others. So he was really thrilled that Lily is actually, she's like, yeah, point me to the kneecaps. So that was exciting for Jermaine. Now, come to find out, Morana comes back downstairs and basically tells us, and at first she told Perdita upstairs, you need to search your room. And Perdita's like, what are you talking about? And she's says Alina may have stolen something from you. Perdita's like, what are you talking about? So she searches the room. Nothing's missing. Nothing's missing from Morana's room. So Perdita and Morana come back downstairs. Morana says Jermaine had this quick conversation with Lily. He went over to get an ale because he's totally exhausted from the day, and he just he wants to relax, I guess. So he's like, hey, I'm gonna get an ale. Can I get you one, Lily? He goes to get these ales. Morana comes back downstairs, kind of sees Jermaine, walks up to him and says, hey, you need to go check on your uncle because Alina may have stolen some things from him. And Jermaine's kind of like, okay, but it's his uncle, so he's like, and with all the things that have been going on, he's kind of in a in a little bit of a fuzz. So he downs the pint and takes off running over to his uncle's house. They check things out. While he's over there with his uncle, Morana says to Lily, you need to go up and check your room. Alina may have stolen some things from you. So Morana went back upstairs while Lily searched her room. Perdita stayed downstairs. So Morana and Lily go upstairs. Lily searches her room. Next thing you hear is like, God damn it! She kind of curses, is like, oh my gosh, because she found that a healing potion and Titus's flask were both missing from her room. Now, when Jermaine gets back, Perdita's downstairs by herself, says they haven't come downstairs, but on the table, Morana had dropped 2 emblems of the Vactaire. And so when Jermaine comes back, he sees the emblems on the table. He says, "What is this?" And to which Perdita's basically like, "Well, it's Titus's and Alina's." Jermaine's like, looks around. He's kind of like, maybe we should be talking about this in private. So the 2 of them go upstairs. They get Lily. They go into Morana's room. Here's what happened. Alina and Titus decided Titus, I guess, needed to go handle some personal business. And Alina felt that she had to go with him. So they left. They quit the Vactaire. They left their emblems, their medallions with us, and they split. So it's like the beginning of the session, and here's this huge bomb. 2 of our party members are now gone. Who knows where? So we're down to 4 party members going like, okay. So that was huge. That was massive. So, I guess Alina and Titus have something they need to work out or need to find out, and they're off on their own adventures now, and Jermaine is left with these 3 ladies who he is growing to trust over the last month or so, month and a half, and he's just he is completely overwhelmed by this time. After dealing with all this stuff with his uncle, he didn't sleep the night before, so he's literally dealing with a level of exhaustion in game terms. He's just beyond. So gets a meal for everybody. They talk a little bit about like, what are we gonna do? And basically like, hey, well, we're just gonna go on. Perdita had sent a letter to Crag and the Vactaire. Crag responded like, okay, well, you're in no rush to get back, but we'll find a replacement for you as soon as possible. Okay, because they don't like to have teams of less than 5. So that's the most important thing the most important thing that happened in this session. Boom! We're like, oh my goodness, what? We're gone now. We're missing Titus and Alina. They're gone, possibly for good. Poor Morana. Now she's got to deal with Alina leaving again for another guy. And so I'm sure there's definitely going to be some blowback from this. Jermaine has tried to talk with her a little bit. Perdita also soothed her a little bit. One of the coolest things that happened in this session, I think, is that we got to see a little more of Lily opening up a bit to the 3 of us, mostly with Morana, which was kind of cool because Lily kind of still doesn't trust Morana. And I think there's a little mutual mistrust, but at the same time in this session, they started to kind of work together a little better and communicate a little better, and it was really kind of fun to see. The other cool, fun thing that happened was we got to do a little bit of a dungeon crawl. So the information we had gotten from Anlo was that basically the hideout is under the palace, which is this like big bard showcase that people go and perform. It's like the major club in town, let's call it. And underneath that is the base for the Hemlig, and we could get there through the sewers, and he told us exactly how to get there. So we go through the sewers, and we have this fun, as far as Gregory is concerned, because I love doing dungeon crawls. I love the role-playing stuff too, but I absolutely love dungeon crawls. I'm an old-school guy. That's the fun stuff for me. So we get to go, and we're picking locks and sneaking through these, sewers and climbing over bridges that collapse and fighting a gelatinous cube and all this fun stuff, right? So we finally get into the hideout, and in the second half of the session, once we're in the hideout, we're like searching around. I should say another major thing that happened as far as character development kind of thing is we found 2 of the thugs and they were both asleep. These were in kind of a guard position of Echo, the kind of the head, the boss that we're looking for. So they were out in the room before we got to Echo's office, and they were both asleep. And so Jermaine has this moment of dilemma. Now, the dilemma for Jermaine was not whether or not he wants to kill these guys. The dilemma was they're asleep and defenseless, and so he's kind of has this moment of like, I'm not an assassin. I can't just like kill them while they're asleep. So he finally decides to just say, gentlemen, may I well, in his accent it would be, I'm a gentleman, may I have a word with you? And basically says, hey, like he wakes them up, he startles them. So now they're awake, so it's fair game. So he goes ahead and attacks them. Perdita helps him, and the two of them quickly take down these two thugs. To which Perdita's like, Jermaine, what the hell? What the fuck are you doing? Morana comes in a few moments later because Jermaine goes and like collects her and says we've dealt with them. And they're just looking at them. Now, one of these thugs had green hair, which we learned last time that Wesley, who runs the magic shop in town, had turned their hair colors for the duration of their miserable lives. So we knew for sure that one of them at least was one of the thugs, and that was enough for Jermaine, and he killed him. He executed him. The other twos were, everyone else in the party was kind of like, what the hell? To which Jermaine is like, he kind of like hangs his head. He's like, I'm sorry. My emotions got the best of me, and we probably should have questioned them. Maybe Morana said, we don't know if they're remorseless. People change. We don't know if they're being forced or why they're doing what they're doing. This was a little rash. And to which Jermaine really didn't have an answer. And so kind of above the table and behind the scenes, I shared with the rest of the group. Of course, Mark already knew this as the DM. He knew this already, but I shared with the rest of the party that Jermaine's flaw in games terms is that his hatred for his enemies is blind and unreasoning. And these guys are his enemy. They messed with his family, and so he has no remorse, no tolerance for that, and basically felt like, yeah, I didn't do anything wrong. That's kind of where he's at. Like he was in this blind rage of like, you messed with the people in this town that I love and care for, you're dead. And so it was this really interesting for me, again, character moment for me to play out and reveal a little bit more of a darker side of Jermaine. I mean, Jermaine is this happy-go-lucky guy. It's session 17. That's really all the group has seen from Jermaine, is this generally speaking happy-go-lucky guy. He's gotten serious with them a few times. He's spoken very sincerely and genuinely and gotten a little more sincere, especially with his conversation with Morana, the kind of most fun other conversation that's happened in this whole campaign. But here we go. Now we get to see this slightly darker side to Jermaine, is that there is a point at which he's intolerant and aggressive, violent, and downright nasty, I guess. Again, he didn't want to kill them in their sleep, but he definitely wanted to kill them. He was out for blood, and he tried to express that to the group, but I don't think they caught on to that. But that he definitely wanted them to pay with their lives because of what they did to his uncle and to the other people in town. Now, of course, they're just taking money, but still, as far as Jermaine's concerned, it doesn't matter. So again, it's this blind, kind of unreasoning, unrational. So that was fun. That was another really super cool moment in this game. The last thing that happened I want to share is that we went and we found Echo and had a very quick and brutal fight with Echo. He happened to be with the assassin who we fought way back when in Orison, who was with the succubi, and we let her go and said, like, get out of town, whatever. Well, guess what? She came to Falkirk and buddied up with Echo. She is currently incapacitated. We don't know. Lily casts hold person on her, and then we are going to. I don't know if we're going to. Jermaine wants to execute her too, but I don't know if the others will let him. We did kill Echo. Again, probably should have kept him alive to ask him questions, but as Lily said, there are ways to talk with the dead. So Jermaine's again not feeling too bad about that. It was intense. It was a pretty quick, intense, brutal fight. We totally overwhelmed Echo. I don't think Mark was ready for that. We slaughtered him pretty fast, and it was just a really good fun session. Got to see a little darker side of Jermaine and got to do some fun dungeon crawl stuff. So all around, Gregory was stoked. I think this was possibly the most fun session. Probably not. It was one of the most fun sessions. But of course, I love every session. So that goes without saying. So there you go. That's kind of in a nutshell what happened. We're standing basically over the body of Echo, or we have this assassin that we got to deal with. That's where we're gonna pick it up next time. So we're gonna see what happens, the repercussions of this battle, and how else. Oh, I guess one high note from this session is Lily found the mandolin for him. Yeah, that was kind of fun, too. I should have mentioned that, I suppose. We got to fight a bunch of mimics, which was crazy. We went into a treasure room, the Hemlig's kind of treasure room, and we found a bunch of chests, and half of them happened to be mimics and, tried to eat us. So that was fun to deal with. And in that room, in one of the chests, we did find the mandolin. So Jermaine's pretty stoked about having the mandolin back, I have to say, for sure. He still needs to attune to it again, but definitely that was probably one of the high points or possibly the high point of the session. So there you go. That's it. I tried to do that as quick as possible, but I always tend to ramble because there's just so much to cover, and I have so much fun sharing my thoughts about it. I look forward to the next session as always. I look forward to seeing you at a table someday, and whether it is at a virtual table or an actual table. Thanks for stopping by, and keep rolling 20s.